The old pickup rattled like a can full of bolts, but it was all I had. My stomach was doing its own rattling, a hollow, worried kind of churn. Another job interview, another polite, "We'll let you know." They never did. Sarah, my wife, was trying to be strong, but I saw the strain in her eyes every time I came home with that same news. And little Lily, her cough seemed to be getting worse, and the doctor said we needed more tests we just couldn't afford right now. I was on my way back from that latest disappointment, sun dipping low, painting the sky in orange and purple, that I barely noticed. My mind was a mess of overdue bills and the fear of letting my family down. That's when I saw her, a woman standing beside a sleek, dark car on the shoulder of the road. One of the back tires was completely flat, looking sad and deflated. She was dressed nicely, maybe a business suit, and looked a bit lost, staring at the tire like it had personally offended her. My first thought, I'm ashamed to say, was to just keep driving. I was tired. I was beaten down. What could I do? But then, Mom's voice echoed in my head. "Tommy, you always stop. You always help if you can." She'd been gone 10 years, but sometimes it felt like she was right there in the passenger seat. Sighed, flicked on my indicator, and pulled over behind her car. "Everything all right, ma'am?" I called out, climbing down from my truck. She looked up, startled, then a wave of relief washed over her face. "Oh, thank goodness. Yes, well, no, I have a flat, and I'm afraid I haven't the faintest idea what to do." She had a kind voice, a little flustered but polite. "Happens to the best of us," I said, trying for a reassuring smile, though I probably just looked weary. "Got a spare? Tools?" She pointed to the trunk. "I think so. The rental company said it's all in there." Rental. Of course. It was a fancy car. We spent the next 20 minutes or so in a companionable sort of silence, broken only by the clank of the lug wrench and the hiss of the jack. I showed her where the spare was, how to loosen the nuts before jacking it up. She watched, genuinely interested, asking a few questions. It was nice, actually. For a little while, I wasn't Tom, the out-of-work father. I was just Tom, a guy helping someone out. The spare was one of those skinny donut tires, but it would get her where she needed to go. As I tightened the last lug nut, she said, "I can't thank you enough. You're a lifesaver." I was starting to panic a little. "No trouble at all," I said, wiping grease from my hands onto an old rag I kept in the truck. "Just glad I could help. You be careful on that spare, though. Don't go too fast." "I will. Please, let me give you something for your time," she said, reaching for her purse. I held up a hand. "No, ma'am, really. It's all right, just pay it forward sometime if you get the chance." That's what Mom would have said. She looked at me for a moment, a thoughtful expression on her face. "All right," she said softly, "but at least take my card, if you ever need anything or if I can return the favor somehow." She handed me a crisp, expensive-feeling business card. I glanced at it quickly, not really taking it in, just seeing a name and a company logo, and tucked it into my shirt pocket. "Thanks. You have a safe drive now." She smiled, a genuine warm smile this time. "You too. And thank you again, truly." I watched her drive off, then climbed back into my rattling pickup. For a few miles, the knot in my stomach felt a little looser. Helping someone, even in a small way, had a way of doing that. But soon enough, the worries came crashing back in. Lily's cough, the bills, Sarah's tired face. It wasn't until I got home, after Sarah had given me a hopeful look that quickly faded when I shook my head, and after I'd listened to Lily's raspy breathing as I tucked her in, that I remembered the card. I was emptying my pockets before taking a shower, and it fell out onto the dresser. I picked it up, intending to toss it in the bin. Then I actually looked at it. Eleanor Vance, it read. CEO, Vance Technologies. Vance Technologies, the biggest employer in the next county over. The one with the massive, gleaming campus you could see from the highway. The one everyone said was impossible to get a job at unless you were some kind of genius. Eleanor Vance. I'd seen her picture in the local paper a few times. Groundbreaking ceremonies, charity events. She was a big deal. My heart started to pound. the woman I'd just changed a tire for, the one who looked a bit lost and flustered. On the side of the road was Eleanor Vance, CEO. I sank down onto the edge of the bed, the card trembling in my hand. Stunned. That was the only word for it. My mind reeled. All those things she could do, the power she had. And I'd just changed her tire like it was nothing. I hadn't even recognized her. A crazy, desperate thought sparked in my mind. "If you ever need anything," she'd said. Could I? Dare I? The thought of calling her, asking for a job, felt both terrifying and like the only lifeline I'd seen in months. The next morning, after a sleepless night, my hands were still shaking as I dialed the number on the card. Her assistant answered, professional and efficient. I mumbled my name and said Ms. Vance had given me her card yesterday. I expected to be brushed off, told to send a resume, to join the long line. But a moment later, Eleanor Vance's kind, calm voice was on the line. "Tom, is that you? The gentleman who rescued me on the highway?" "Yes, ma'am, that's me," I managed, my throat tight. "I was hoping you might call," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "I felt awful just driving. Off like that, you really were a godsend. You said to pay it forward, and I intend to. What can I do for you, Tom?" I took a deep breath. "Ms. Vance," I began, my voice wobbling a bit. I'm looking for work. I'll do anything. I'm a hard worker, I promise." There was a pause, and then she said, "Tom, I saw how you worked yesterday. Methodical, careful, and you didn't expect a thing for it. That tells me a lot about a person. Why don't you come to my office tomorrow morning, say 9 o'clock, we'll talk." Tears welled up in my eyes. Actual tears. "Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much." When I hung up, Sarah was looking at me, her eyes wide. I just nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat, and showed her the card. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but for the first time in a long, long time, that knot in my stomach isn't a knot of fear. It's a flutter of hope. All because I stopped to help a stranger who turned out to be someone who might just change our lives. Mom was right. You always stop. You always help. You just never know.